Good morning and welcome back to the Zula B. Wiley Public Library, and this is Preschool Storytime. Today we're having our very rainy day story time. We like to get started with the song Hello Friends. It goes like this. Hello friends, hello friends, hello friends. It's time to say hello. You do it with me. Hello friends, hello friends, hello friends. It's time to say hello. Let's get started with one of my favorite rainy day books. Perhaps you know it already. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs by Judy Barrett. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we each could eat, and Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air, headed toward the kitchen ceiling, and landed right on Henry. Ooh. After we realized that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Across an ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Swallow. Get it? Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with many stores, houses with trees and gardens around them, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Can you believe it? Food from the sky? And all we're getting is water. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain. It never snowed snow. And it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas. And sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. Oh my. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That was the way they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in the refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, Frankfurters, already in their rolls, blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby when the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Hot dog party. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times, with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by gradual clearing with a wonderful Jell-O setting in the west. Cool. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove the food that fell on houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for the people's flower gardens. That's a thought. Fertilize your garden with old food. I think we call it compost. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. The headline says, "Spaghetti ties up town." One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. And the next day there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter and mayonnaise. Another day there was a pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. Uh-oh. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. One Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of its weight, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch strips of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomachache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind accompanied by even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. I don't think I'd like to live in chew and swallow. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many of the houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread, sandwich style, with peanut butter. Took the absolute necessities with them and set sail on their rafts to new land. On a bread boat. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in the new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. They found it odd that food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs. No one ever got hit by a hamburger again, and nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell the mashed potatoes. The end. Did you like that? Well, friends, I need to tell you about something special that we're doing this month, September. Starting next week, on Wednesday, September 9th, we will start something called Creative Connections. Tomorrow, here at the library, September 3rd, you can pick up a special craft packet. In the packet will be 4 wonderful activities that we will do at each story time in September. Each story time on Wednesday, that is. These packets are intended for kids ages 3 to 6 years old. Talk to your parents and ask them to please come pick up one. Okay, friends, let's end with a song. Are you ready?
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6.
I hope you're up and dancing. Woo-hoo-hoo. Clap, clap, clap your hands. Stomp, stomp, stomp your feet. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your hips. Spin around to the beat. Clap, clap, clap your hands. Stomp, stomp, stomp your feet. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your hips. Spin around to the beat. Are you moving? Get your rainy day exercise. Stomp your feet. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your hips. Spin around to the beat. Clap, clap, clap your hands. Stomp, stomp, stomp your feet. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your hips. Spin around to the beat. Move your body to this song. Hope you're dancing. Our thanks to Mr. John and friends for the use of their song. Also, this coming Monday, September 7th, is Labor Day, and the library will be closed. Have a great day, everybody, and stay dry.